Toivotaan, että mahtavaa. Joo, niin mä yhdessä tuli sillä lailla siis ajatus on syksyn aikana, mutta sitten erityisavustusta, vaikka ne vähän vaan jaetaankin. Se on muutama muu, mutta niin kuin tajuttiin, että me ollaankin hakukelpoisia. Niin sitten mä olin jotenkin tässä puhetta jossain kevään aikana, musikaan on tulossa fokusointi johonkin kehitysprojekteista, mutta odotsivat millainen julkaisee sen ja sitten lokakuussa yleensä me laitetaan erityisavustuksia. Niin sitten tuli vakuutusaneeksi, että sehän on tää, että se on vaan niinku tän alla, että se on ikään kuin muutettu, että nyt vedetään tähän. Oli hyvä sillä konsepti oli päässä. No, kiva kuulla, että se viides juttelin kanssa Niinan kanssa.
Hyvä. No niin, sulla semmoista haluaisinko olla kiinni?
Mä luulen, että se kestää ihan fine.
Vettä vaikka.
pistä vaikka tuohon sen valoon. Kauhean lössä. Tää on hyvä aina, jos on jotain tämmöistä, mitä pitää tehdä ennen, ja sitten ei niinku ehdi katsoa ja jäädä katsomaan, ja sitten tekee käsiä.
Mutta ei niitä voi, ei se myydä, mutta ei se ja sitten se lisäkappaleet, niin sitten ei se ole niin yksinkertaisesti. Mutta on siinä vähän sellaista, äiti pitää sitä Yhtäkkiä mieleen.
I think we're ready to start in a couple of minutes. Good day, everybody. Good day. Hey, how are you? Great. We have almost a full house, which is nice. Welcome to TIPFest, and welcome to this seminar organized by our Impulse project. It's great to have you everyone here, and hello to everybody online. The seminar is called Beyond the Festival, and we're going to discuss different strategies for expanding our perspectives on sustainability in the performing arts, and particularly regarding performing arts festivals. My name is Jesper Dolgov, and I'm working with Out of Puppets, and I have been the project coordinator for the Impulse project, and I'm happy to have some wonderful guests with us today Hanna Parry from Baltic Circle International Theatre Festival, the artistic director, and Anni Sundbacka, the managing director of the new Performance Turku Biennale, and currently the deputy residency director of Saari Residence. And of course our managing directors from a few years ago, and you were also one of the creators of this project, so it's nice to kind of close the loop here, so welcome. Just a few things about our schedule. I'm gonna talk about the project a little bit, and Hanna will take the stage after me, and then we're gonna have just a small coffee break and stretch our legs for a little bit, and after that Anni will talk about new performance Turku Biennale, and after that we're gonna have a little bit of a discussion with facilitated by our artistic director Ishmael Falke. And after the discussion, I mean, during the discussion, you're also able to ask questions and take part in the discussion. And after the discussion, we're gonna have some snacks and coffee in the lobby, so feel free to stay, and we can continue the discussion there. And yeah, just so grateful to have you all here today, and I would also like to thank our funders, the European Union and the Finnish National Agency for Education, and then of course the Arts Promotion Center of Finland and the city of Turku for supporting our festival, and also Turun Teatterisäätiö. Is there something else? I think those are the, thank you very much. So what is the Impulse project? New focus on puppetry and visual theatre. It's been a 2-year project with our partners Cosmos Theatre from Lithuania, and I think Silvinas, the artistic director of Cosmos, is here with us. And then Atarumba from Portugal has been the third partner. So it's a Creative Europe program and a small-scale project with a budget of 200K. And core objectives have been to support the creation and circulation of works and artists, and to research and implement sustainable touring practices, to expand networks, initiate new partnerships, and to enhance professional development for artists, producers, and organizations. So just a little bit about our partners. Atarumba from Portugal was already established in 1993, and they have been producing the Finfe Festival since 2001. And Cosmos Theatre in Lithuania, in Kaunas, has been partnering with Performing Arts Festival Contempo, and Out of Puppets has been working on Dipfest since 2010. So each of the partners are producing or partnering with a festival. A little bit about the background and the context. During our discussions before the project, we realized that we're kind of on the peripheries of Europe, so working on the sides and trying to get closer to the middle, to the bigger markets of puppet theater. And so we needed to kind of create this pilot program to figure out how we can actually reach those markets. And when we want to grow, we also need to think about how we can stay sustainable at the same time. and more touring, like it's more opportunities, but also if we increase the workload of artists, how can we also take care of the artists and their well-being as well. So in addition to cutting down emissions of touring and learning more about circular economy, for example, we really wanted to maintain focus on having fair salaries to artists and making sure that all of the artists are able to have ample rest and recovery time when they're on tour. And also we wanted to focus on learning more about how to broaden our reach while we are on tour. So how to reach new audiences or new professionals. And also the emphasis has been to really try to establish long-term connections with our new partners. And in connection to the touring, we wanted to also offer our artists the possibility to learn new professional skills. So while they were at the festivals performing, they were also able to attend master classes. So the touring pilot program is the kind of the core of the project, and so each festival has hosted one piece from each country, and then we were also able to work with Cosmos and produce a seventh piece at last year's TIP-Fest. And like I said, we wanted to give artists the chance to slower travel and give them time for rest and recovery, and obviously wanted to guarantee them proper salaries. During the first year of the project, we also, like I said, we had the master classes in connection to the touring pilot program. So Gavin Glover did a masterclass on microcinema at the Finfa Festival, and Zodia Subanch-Lotkar was here at TIP-Fest doing a masterclass in dramaturgy. And then Cosmos Theatre and Iron Cat partnered to create a masterclass in motion capture and live art. This is some of the pieces that we have been able to produce at the festivals. Unmentionable by Nina Lindroos at Finfa last year, and this is Nina on the left attending the masterclass by Gavin. And Kubim was in Kaunas. It was a piece that was staged inside of a van, so we could also drive the van to the district of Kaunas and to reach more audience in that way. And it was staged outside, so in some of the shows I think there might be even 200 people watching, so it was a great success. Motion capture workshop, Kafka Insomnia at last year's TIP-Fest, and How to Swim by Tautvidas Kalgauskas at last year's TIP-Fest. The master class with Zodia. This year Dilettante in Finfa 24. It was also a world premiere. And Nanosteps Into the Lab in Kaunas this year. And with this piece we were also able to reach a wider audience by going to the Kaunas district, and this was one community hall outside of the city. And then our last piece is Sursum Corda at this year's TIP-Fest, which is coming up tomorrow and on Sunday. In addition to the master classes and the touring pilot program, we've also had a couple of seminars. First on sustainable touring, and then exploring ways to connect on tour at last year's TIP-Fest. And today we are talking about expanding our perspectives on sustainability with performing arts festivals. And in December we're going to have a seminar workshop with designers Tanja Beer and Brioni Anderson on eco-design and ecological puppet theater practice. So, what have we been able to accomplish so far? It has enabled us to create new international opportunities and visibility for artists with no prior experience or little prior experience abroad. And participants have been super happy about having more time and having a proper salary and having the chance for slower travel, and so they really have appreciated the flexibility. And the added time has allowed them to really network and broaden their professional skills during the first year. And as organizations, I think we have broadened our networks and also been able to actively engage in new discussions. Also, we have been able to learn new tools for assessing and reducing our environmental impact. We have gained new strategies and creative approaches for driving change, and expanded our understanding how to reach new audiences about our handprint. And also, we've been able to strengthen our commitment to working towards a more sustainable future. So what's going to happen next? I think when we started out the project, we have this bigger task of creating a handbook or a guide on sustainable touring, and we kind of quickly realized that there's many very nice guides on sustainable touring, for example by Aurora Nova, the Sustainability Lab, and then there's the wealth of resources offered by Julie's Bicycle, for example. And what we kind of wanted to think about was to how to actually implement all these values inside of the organization, and how to really build it in the foundation of our organization. And in that way we would kind of find a way to spread it out like into every part of our organization. In each project that we make and each event we create, it would be sustainable in its core. We are going to publish a handbook at the end of the project. I don't know is it a guide or ideas or a start of a discussion or something, but we really want to explore the topic more and hope that, well, I mean, for us it's just, we are in the beginning, I would say. This has been a great 2 years to have the time to think about these topics and really think about how to implement the ideas inside of the organization, and kind of moving forward, we are really excited to kind of see it in action, to say. And I would also like to say that moving forward, kind of there has to be also the commitment to really critically evaluate what you are doing and taking stock at each point. Are we really following our core principles at each step? And so this kind of process of evaluating and adapting and then improving and all, like repeating and repeating this cycle is very important. As puppet theater makers, we know that we have like an incredibly flexible art form, and we can stretch our art beyond the human scale or even smaller, which are we gonna see at this festival as well. And we can stretch it beyond time and space. And it's just we need to make sure that we harness this power when we try to reimagine also the structures around us. But we'd be happy to discuss everything with you further. Here's the contact information if you want to get in touch. Next, I'm so happy to invite to the stage somebody that has maybe a lot more experience with creating projects and implementing these actions and these ideas. So please welcome Hanna Parry from Baltic Circle Festival to tell us about collaboration as a strategy for sustainability. Thank you.
Great, thank you and hello. My name is Hanna Parry and I'm the artistic director of Baltic Circle Festival, which is an annual festival organized every November in Helsinki. The next festival is starting in 2 weeks exactly. So I'm sorry if my thinking today is not as sharp as it could be because my brain is a bit overloaded, but I try to tell you some examples of the work that we do and of the maybe examples of what we have tried out when we have tried to create more sustainable structures for the performing arts field. First, a few words about the festival. So, Baltic Circle was already first founded in 1997 as a Baltic Nordic network for arts professional, mainly theater makers, artists, dramaturgs, and very soon it grew through these kinds of European projects, but also very widely to European, to global projects. And these today we have really important connections in the Arctic, in Australia with indigenous artists, in Brazil, and so on. I personally have been working in Circle since 2012, so I'm quite stuck there. In the meanwhile, I have been also working for other festivals, in Helsinki Festival, which is maybe the largest multicultural festival in Finland, and for Circo, Center for New Circus. But then also really important steps for my own thinking and career were working with the Lift Festival in London and with American Realness in New York. And in 2020, I came back to Finland and to Baltic Circle, and that was a year that we all remember. For Baltic Circle, it meant that we had to cancel the festival in the middle of everything because of the restrictions of the pandemic. But also what changed there was not only trying to really figure out how to organize an international festival, but I really thought that like international theater festival, 3 words that are not sustainable at all, I felt. And what I also kind of realized that we were always in a very big hurry to present new works and to be like presenting something that the others don't, and we were competing all the time, and you all know this, what it is. And then I was wondering, like, what's the rush? Like, what is happening here to the people who are actually working here? It came actually from the artists also. That I remember, for instance, we presented an international company from Beirut a year before. And I asked them that just kind of, how is it and how do you like Helsinki? And then they were like, we don't even really know we are in Helsinki, because they came to the airport where they were brought to the hotel, to the venue, to the hotel, to the airport, to the next city, and that continued for some years. They were touring all the time. They didn't see their families, they didn't see the environment around them. They didn't really, like, they were spending their life in black boxes like we are now. And I thought that for whom are we doing this, and what it's doing also for the people who try to work with it. And I decided that that's a practice that I don't want to continue. So I kind of, the first thing was some kind of a break, or how to slow down the system that we are running all the time. And this led us into really thinking also about the influence of a festival and what we want to create with that. And we rethought our vision, our mission, our values. And these are really big words that are meant to be tools for us to really always think further and bigger. But at the moment I would like to really concentrate on the values and on the first word there, the concrete actions towards achieving a more equal, socially and ecologically sustainable future or culture. Around those times there was also the 6th IPCC report published, and in that report it's very clearly said that culture also has a really remarkable role to play in climate change. And I was really thinking about that. We cannot kind of create these fast solutions or technical solutions, and maybe we are not even very interested in that. But I really wanted to kind of take the challenge and think about like what could our role be. And after that we have created projects that are here just as lists of names. But for me, when I wrote these names here, I remember that, okay, this project, the Wild Trippers, is an ecological environmental project. Radio That Matters is a social project with blind and visually impaired people. Towards Reconciliation is a project with land rights and human rights with the Sami community and politics. Coming Stage is an artistic collaboration about inclusion and diversity on stages. Kulkue, a work that we have, or the project that we do together with 2 other Finnish festivals, the Anti Festival in Kuopio and Hanko Teattertreff, which the idea shortly is that we present one work and the same artist can develop it to the next festival and then again to the next one. So we can provide the artist a 3-year round and tour where they also have some resources to always develop the work further. and B2B from the Baltic to the Barents Sea, communities, ecologies, and the green transition. And this was a work that we started with Barents Spectacle Festival, which is up in the north, like on the Norwegian side, but it's like really close to Finnish border and very, very close, like 200 meters from the Russian border. And this collaboration started when the Russian attack started, and we wanted to see what does that do to our neighboring countries, but also what are the impacts of the whole militarization on that area in the north and also here in the capital. And now I thought that I would open a little bit more about some of the projects. But before that, I wanted to say that I love festivals, and I think that we work with the very particular medium that can really still bring people together and keep them somewhere in rooms like this without their telephones or whatever buzz is going on. And we can kind of create moments that people can concentrate or feel something together. And I think that is somehow the key in why culture is so important also in these big crises, and working with them, because we cannot just think that it's something that we wouldn't feel, and we wouldn't need places to process. And I think arts and culture, we have like the expertise on analyzing, on processing, on creating empathy and creating understanding on situations that are not known yet. This picture is from the first trip that we made into central Finland. So a very cool Helsinki-based theater festival decided to go and work in the middle of nowhere for a while. We started a collaboration with the Snow Change Cooperative, which is led by Tero Mustonen, who's the leading climate scientist who won, for instance, the most important climate award, the Goldman Prize last year. And we had a swamp together, and I try to show you what we do there. So this is a picture of the swamp, and in the middle you see the problem. This line here is a ditch. And Finland is full of swamps. It's even in the name of Finland. Suomi, Suomaa means the land of swamps and peatlands. And this reason why we are there is because we wanted to create some understanding of what is happening in these carbon sinks that are the most important ones on the whole Arctic area that we have. What is happening there is that they are full of these ditches, which means that they are drying out, and then they don't work as carbon sinks, but as giving, what's the word? Thank you, yes. So we decided to go and see what we could do there. And maybe before we go to the actual work, I could say that I had no idea what we are going to do. And we were just, maybe it was a very beautiful place, and I thought that maybe it could be serving the festival as one venue, kind of, that we could at some point maybe make a performance there or bring our audience and artists there to work somehow together with the landscape. But immediately when we came there for the first time, we noticed that actually it's not about us at all. It's about the land, which was really greeting us with the beautiful sunset. The first snow came, the birds were flying over us, and really it turned the whole idea of who is here the protagonist. And we were standing back and saw that, okay, there's a lot happening here, and we should just watch and listen and try to understand how to help this happening. And luckily, the Snow Change Cooperative knows exactly what we should do, so they provided us some tools, and I will see if I can just, and we, it's not so easy with computers. Maybe I just show. And this is what we actually do. We fill the ditches with the land that they have, the industrial land use that has ruined before us because of the peat production that they use it for. And this is physical work, and you see the results immediately. We make these kinds of dams, and the water comes up on both sizes, and we can kind of start to keep the water in the swamp, and it starts to work little by little, year by year, as it should. So this is a very extreme example of what concrete action means to Baltic Circle nowadays. And one could ask, where's art? And what is the performance here? And I have really been thinking about this, and I wanted to also give some time to it. So now, after spending 4 years there, I start to realize where is art. I think the whole production works as a theater production does, that we have a really clear plan, we collaborate together in the groups who are working together, and also the scientists, the environmental workers, the art workers. Usually people who are attending are our artists, international guests, presenters, curators, producers, who just want to have some kind of a example of action that they can do in a situation where they feel desperate. And also what I have understood, that whatever we speak at the swamp is very different than what we would do if we would have a seminar about environmental action in Helsinki in a seminar room. Is different than when we go there and work there and then have the same speech outside. And also during these years, and because the context is always the festival, it changes how people also start to actually propose artistic practices and work when we are there. So in the end, quite many artistic projects come up from this starting point. Then maybe if I find my presentation, I come back here. This project was a bigger 4-year project which was funded by Koneen-säätiö. It's called The Coming Stage, and in this one we really wanted to have also a concrete example of what slowing down the processes could mean. So we have invited one artist to work at the festival for 2 years and to present 2 different works or 1 work in process and then the actual work on 2 festivals. And here we work together with artists who call themselves crip artists, rampataiteilijat in Finnish, trans artists, black artists, people who work with stretching norms that are related to bodily abilities or body or experience. And this is a project that I think has been really a key for me also in understanding what collaboration means. That already in the beginning of Baltic Circle, collaboration was always part of the festival, and of course the festival as a format is based on collaboration always. But this project has brought me a little bit away only from the artistic collaboration and the collaboration with artists and festivals and so on, but really trying to also open possibilities with other kinds of expertise, and also seeing quite closely to the system that what kinds of bodies and works don't we represent and what is missing from the stages. And maybe as a bridge between these projects, I could also mention that the collaboration between different knowledges and different ways of knowing has been something that opens also the festival production, that we really need to kind of let things happen also inside of our teams and the ways of we are used to work and so on. This is a big jump maybe to another project, but what is common is that the festival also is very committed to long-term collaboration and long-term themes, so that we don't every year change everything or search for the newest it or whatever, but we really are committed into work that we feel is important. And one of these kinds of alliances, or maybe from the previous project, I mentioned the crip artists, for instance, or trans or black artists. These are commitments that the festival will have and keep on having. And one of these kinds of strong alliances that we have had already since 2017 is with the Sami community. And we have, what it means is that we have presented Sami work, but also we have followed quite a lot the Sami politics in Finland and also indigenous politics globally. And last year there was a Sami Truth and Reconciliation Commission starting in Finland, which meant that the hearings of Sami people were starting. And there we thought that now what we could do as a Baltic Circle Festival and as an ally is that we could really start to think about, together with cultural institutions, that what could that reconciliation then look like. Because I think that even though we have this really important work going on, it's very much going in the politics and somewhere in documents that we don't really see in our everyday life. But I think the problem is something that big cultural institutions can actually work on, in how and what kind of national narratives we, for instance, present in our museums, in our arts, generally in our theater pieces, national theater, what kind of program do they present, and what is the kind of national history of Finland, and is it time to open it for different voices also now? So last year we arranged a discussion together with the Commission. These pictures are from there, and from that on we have every half a year met the arts institutions directors in a workshop where we try to find ways to really go towards concrete action from next year onwards, that when the Commission gives the statement is and the hearings are ready. And that is something that I think will always take different forms at Baltic Circle, whatever feels necessary. And in addition to this quite straightforward political action and environmental action, we also still have our performances. This picture is from the Kulkue project, from the collaboration with Finnish other festivals. And we really try to also open and keep the good practices that we also heard were really important in your project now for the artists who would get the salaries and have the possibilities to present the work more times than what a festival can normally give them. And that's why we also really concentrate on keeping the networks in Finland and internationally also very alive, so that we can provide some continuation to the works. This is from the collaboration we do with the blind jury. So this means that we have, in Finland there's a blind jury since 50 years, an institution who listens to every audio work that the national broadcasting company Yle produces, and then they decide who's the best, and they give an award. And I realized that these people in the jury are like the experts of listening and describing what they hear. So I started to interview them, and we have now created an audio work, and we will hear the first kind of premiere is together with the jury, so that we immediately get also the analysis of what we heard and how we should develop the audio drama. This was a project, this is our EU project, and this is something that we started during the pandemic also, when we were really thinking what could be then the ways to tour international work, and we were looking at audio work specifically as a more sustainable way to tour also. This is my favorite sentence, and I don't even remember if I heard it from someone or if I figured it out myself. I'm sorry for the quote not being quoted right, but this is maybe something that is always the basis of everything we do, and for me lately it has meant that we really need to kind of start taking the responsibility of what we use these relationships for, and how we could also bring the work further, that the festivals have a very big potential of getting media attention, of getting people together, of getting new practices introduced. And I think that we don't have answers, and no one has, but we have to start from somewhere, and the first attempts might be clumsy, but never mind. It's fine that we just kind of try to be involved and be really also engaging with the society around us and with the better world, because it's up to us in the end that how we also create these energies that are not the ones that are now getting all the attention in the media. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I stop here and then we have the discussion later, or I'm not sure how you want to work with the time, or is there time for questions also? But
if somebody has a question right now, we have time for a few. But we're going to have the discussion a little bit later.
Yeah. This is our club. I just wanted to invite you also in 2 weeks to the festival. Maybe just one thing more, if I can get here to the internet, I will show you also something that was that we have this kind of a site here where we say what we do and why we do it and how we do it. And I think this was also something that I felt was inspiring, or is always inspiring to see from other festivals, like, because we are all thinking about these same themes and questions, like that why that how do different organizations manifest their aims. So I thought that this might be also nice to see. Yes.
Hey, I'm Maiju Tainio from production team here in Turku. I would like to hear your how you approach this question of distance, or because we in Finland we are geographically so far away from the rest of Europe, for example. So it's very important for us to invite people here and to tour, like go out.
Yes.
And not stay here in our own bubble. And like personally, I think it's not enough to just have like these online connections like this, like physically being in the same space.
Yeah.
It's essential, but at the same time, it's like traveling is ecologically, like we know, it's questionable. So how you approach this controversy or this dilemma?
I always go back to the question, like, what makes sense, and I ask that also every time when I have an invitation to abroad or if I feel like I need to see something and go there, and the question, like, if it makes sense, I can go, because I think it's really important that we question that if every travel is really important and if we really have to do it. But then I also think that if we have, and this you must be really honest to yourself, like, do you really have to be there? And in this work you quite often have to be there, and theater also is a format that happens live and happens together with people, so it's really important part of it. But the concrete answer is that our travels have minimized into 5 per year, and they used to be 55. So it has been really kind of a huge change also in what we do, and I feel in the periphery we are going further and further from other kinds of festivals that are still running the artistic circulation and having the same groups presented everywhere. We are not there, but then I feel like there are other festivals also in Finland who do that, so I don't have to. I can do whatever else that makes sense for me and for us. And we are lucky that it's kind of, I think the main thing is that we keep honest to the exchange and the relationships that we have with the people, and you cannot maybe handle 55 festival producers travels outcome, which is 500 people, but you can handle the 15 people you meet in 5 festivals and really keep with you for the next years. So the question is quite often also that is it enough what we do, and what are the expectations? And little by little the funders also start to follow this kind of proposals that we could do a bit less, or we could do a bit less but more concentrated or focused. But it has not been like very straightforward. At first we didn't get money to these projects. It meant a lot of articulating why we do what we do.
Let's have a small break. 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Hanna.
Kiitos. Mä huomasin, että vaikka oli 2 tietokonetta, niin ei saa seurata aikaa.
Nähdäänkö me ton nettisivun tässä?
Yes.
Joo.
Se siellä vielä auki.
Ei näköistä.
Ei tämä.
Varmaan vahingossa meni. Joo. Hey, we're continuing the seminar. Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Anni Sundbacka, and Jesper already mentioned my past connections with Out of Puppets. It's a really pleasure to come back here and celebrate the 15th TIP Festival after a couple of years doing something else. So yeah, my name is Anni Sundbacka, and I'm an art specialist, consultant, lecturer. My background is especially in the independent art sector, with expertise in performance arts, contemporary visual art, live art, and also contemporary puppetry, as we heard as the previous managing director of Out of Puppets. I'm the co-founder of New Performance Turku Biennale and the managing director of the Association of New Performance Turku. And I'm also currently working as a residency director at Kone Foundation Saari Residence. My main interests lie in multidisciplinary contemporary art and also enabling developing sustainable working conditions, which admittedly seem also a bit challenging, especially in these current conditions and the political climates. Since we have gathered here in the context of the festival especially and the sustainabilities of festivals, today's viewpoint I'm talking about is especially in the framework of the events I've been able to develop and work with in the past, but also getting inspiration from all forms of previous work and expertise. So the topics that I will aim to touch on today are, for example, what sustainability means in today's cultural and societal climate, especially in viewpoint of small organizations in the field. In the core of this discussion is also the current volatile political landscape, precarious conditions, and the possibilities of the future. As also Hanna mentioned in their inspiring speech just before, how to do more with less, because this is evident. Could the demand for more stand for depth and quality, not just growth and quantity? How do we understand care as part of ecological, social and psychological sustainability? So today I'm talking mostly from the viewpoint of New Performance Turku Biennale and also the shift that we made in the organizational level when thinking about how to rethink the sustainabilities in our actions. I will be talking about festivals as platforms for mediating core values, but then also how to create communities from the perspective of care. And what does that mean? So, a couple of words about New Performance Turku Biennale. Originally, the event, New Performance Turku Festival, was established in 2012 as an annual festival for performance art and live art organized here in Turku. And what happened? Actually, I could relate a lot to what Hanna mentioned. It's not a coincidence that these thoughts came up in the midst of the pandemic in 2020 and so forth. We really started to question what it means to produce an annual event, annual festival. Is it really possible to follow our core values and ambitions that were very heavily focused on sustainability and trying to kind of always look for ways to do things support arts commission works and to create the event in a sustainable way. There were 10 consecutive years of the annual festival organized here in Turku International Festival of Performance Art and Live Art. I think it's really, really nice to be talking about from this position today. Of course, there are lots of differences when talking about from the perspective of performance art, but also especially with contemporary puppetry, lots of similarities concerning kind of the contents of the art form, but also the structures, and of course in the Finnish independent scene, the kind of we know each other's situations. Yeah, but we generally felt that it wasn't possible to meet our core missions on sustainability, continuing as before, preparing one annual event after another, offering usually short-term visits. And actually, this is something that came up with one of our discussions that we had online during the pandemic. We were hosting online discussions with our previous artists called NPT and Friends. And during one of the discussions, one of our previous artists mentioned that they had really lovely experience, but when they were doing work in the River Ora at that time, they felt that they didn't have enough time to get to know the river as well as they wanted to. So that kind of brought up the thinking, kind of like, how is this possible to continue this way, producing one event after another, especially when commissioning and producing site-specific works, situation-specific works, or community-specific works that are really rooted in the collaboration and kind of demanding time and space to really be impactful and meaningful. So our aims have been focusing and wanting to concentrate on ecological and social sustainability, but then understanding that we were really not having enough time to actually allow the artists to get to work with the site and to get to work with the project. Of course, that was the aim, but concerning the resources. And this is, of course, different with different organizations, but within our resources, we felt that it wasn't possible anymore. So we needed the shift, and we needed that change. So we wanted to see how to really develop and deepen the impacts of our doings instead of just keep building up the scale and quantity, because that's of course the kind of the traditional idea of building an organization, that we should expand or aim for more audiences, naturally aim for kind of larger quantities, and we started to kind of second guess that of course it's not possible to do that in parallel to our core values and missions. And this is of course the question that many or most organizations will face in the future and are already facing, the question that was already brought up today, how to do more with less. And what does this mean in our organizational structure? We shifted from the annual festival into biannual, that is organized every other year. So we shifted into a 2-year production structure. So having less events, but hoping to have more impacts. And what does this mean in regards of New Performance Turku biannual? We were able to start supporting longer working processes. Of course, that's something we had done already before, but this really enabled having a new perspective and focus also on commissions of the works, especially concerning site-specific works. So we were able to support longer working processes, hosting artists in residencies, also collaborating long-term with local organizations and communities, also something we had been able to done before, but then again focusing on these aspects. And then also understanding that each commissioned work has its own specific audience and focusing and building communities around these specific works. And of course, I need to mention at this point that the situation is different when compared to traditional venue-based artworks that are happening in a black box. But especially when we are commissioning a lot of site-specific works, then that's kind of intrinsic part of the production and the kind of understanding how to build communities around the works also and what it means. Then, of course, it enabled building larger international networks and collaborations, just in a kind of very practical sense, because there was more time to do things. And it was also possible to support emerging artists and students, and also artists transitioning to the field of performance art, maybe from other disciplines. And we have been able to develop projects and programs to support that, as well as collaborate with the local universities and institutions to support the kind of upcoming generation, because that's also the important part of when thinking about the future. It's also enabled to focus on different aspects, on reaching out communities and audiences, also outside of the art field. And of course, kind of as part of the values and the work that we are doing, building a welcoming space to all participants and actors within the organization. I think that's also something that has to do with the kind of expanding the time and space and focusing the resources in a different way that we had done before. And yeah, some consequences of the change in the rhythm of our organization and activities. We were able to have more possibilities to support longer working processes, also on economical level. And as mentioned, this is also enabled with local collaboration with the local organizations and also venues. Having possibilities to host on-site residencies, especially with site-specific works. Of course, can be mentioned that most of the works that we are commissioning are actually site-specific, because we are talking about performance art, but anyway. And so the main event is hosted every other year. We had the first biannual 23, and the next one is upcoming in next year, 25. So the preparation year that we are currently ongoing is focusing on artistic work, supporting artistic work, curating, commissioning, making smaller events, workshops, different audience activities, and all in all building the community around the activities that we are doing. So we are not talking about the gap year in between the biannuals, we are talking about preparation year, and really kind of trying to have use of the time that we now have at hand after this shift into this new kind of structure for us. It has enabled less travels and longer stays throughout the production scheme and schedule, and it has enabled more possibilities to build sustainable collaborations both locally and internationally, again with the kind of the time and resources expanded. And of course, enabling having more time and space to focus also on the actions and the consequences of our work when we are not in the cycle of annual festival. And then again, it's a little bit different talking about different organizations. Our organization is quite small, so of course that affects the overall resources in hand. So situations are different, but that was a really key moment for us, I think, when kind of trying to rethink the sustainable approaches and how to reach them in a concrete level in the current kind of actions that we were doing. And we really felt that this was the the way to do and to enable it. Yes, so festivals as platforms for building communities. Festivals are effectively building temporary communities, but then how to amplify the effects of a single event also into broader dimensions. And as said, coming together is a really powerful tool for change. Hanna also put it really nicely about how people locked in a room without the phones focusing on the kind of things together can really make a change, and I also believe in that. But then at the same time, what I have felt after this shift, we have done, of course, in the core of the activities we do is the biannual events, but then I think still many of the effects also occur outside of the event itself. This means, for example, creating engagement in a local level, making meaningful collaborations and building up communities also outside the event and the festival spectrum. So lots of things are happening also in between the comings together. And of course, still the festival or the biannual is in the core of the activities we are doing, but making the shift both in the activities and also in our thinking, which I think it's kind of the most influential aspect of that, has enabled even more results than was originally expected. And I kind of like to say that we are an art organization operating around the year, and then just the most visible part happens to be the festival. Of course, we are a festival organization, but lots of other things are happening as well. In the beginning, I mentioned the notion of care as an important part of thinking about sustainability. And what I think is that the notion of care should be included in all forms of sustainable ways of working and doing and also resisting. And of course, it's included in all parts of sustainability, taking care of the environment, taking care of the future, taking care of each other, also in the context of events also. Then I think also at the same time it's important to acknowledge the possible challenges that notions of care may propose, what it means to care or be cared, what it means in the context of an organization. But I think we also need to change how we comprehend the idea of care, and I really like the term suggested by, for example, Hobart and Nies, radical care, to rematching the systems of care. And radical care is based on the idea of non-hierarchical collective work. That is also taking into consideration the power structures, who is the carer and who is worthy of care, and kind of thinking critically about that. And yeah, in the idea of care, there's a danger of the neo-liberal idea of also maybe forcing individuals into unpaid labor and non-fair working conditions, kind of in order to build the better future. We all kind of know that the danger of this lies in especially in the independent scene, the cultural scene, all in all, when people are doing things out of passion and out of wanting to also change the world. So it's really important to take the power structures into consideration when talking about sustainabilities and also about the care. Yeah, maybe to sum up some of these ideas brought up today, it's important to understand how all forms of sustainability are entangled together. It also allows us to make deeper connections with our actions and also understand our impacts in a larger, wider level. And yeah, there is really no ecological sustainability without focusing also on the aspects of social sustainability and care as well. So I think it's inseparable part of the system of sustainability. And I'm really happy that today we have gathered, locked in this room together and been able to bring out these issues that also have been very central to the Impulse project concerning also the economical sustainability points of view. Yeah, this is all for today. Thank you so much for listening.
Let's bring out the chairs and invite Ishmael Falke, the artistic director of TIPFest, to the stage as well. And back to the stage, Hanna.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you three can work with that mic, and I can
Yes.
be taking questions if you have questions.
Yeah, and you can help me because I'm partially blinded by this projector.
Let's go this way.
So you can help me also to see if somebody in the audience is raising the hand. Or we can
go this way.
This.
Helps?
Better, yes.
Okay. Good.
I've seen enough. Bad joke, only you laugh. On this. Before we start, as long as I remember this, I just want to say that at 5 o'clock in Yoki Studio here starts Simple Machines. So if there is with us people who are going there, I think Jesper can be our Klockkalle. Yes. And if you will find out.
All right, good.
Yes. So don't worry, a Klockkalle will take care of you. You will not miss the show. Yes. Otherwise, we can start. So, thank you both for your presentations. That was. Even for me, working many years in the field, many things that I didn't know. So you always hear about the festivals, but you have a certain image, and then you don't know how are they functioning actually in depth and in structure. I hope we have all kind of questions coming from you, but I want to throw as a beginning. A provocative but also a bit obvious and simplistic question, and it's the question of I will first just throw on the floor this very simplistic provocation and then open it a little bit. So do artists really need to take the responsibility of the authorities concerning sustainability? Is it really up to us artists to bear this and to do this work? And around this are a bit more in-depth questions that often have been rising also in our community of Out of Puppets, for example, as we were discussing and planning TIPFest along the years. It's nothing new. But questions like this, at how much of this, for example, criteria for sustainability that we are discussing and planning, how much is coming from above upon us? How much are we developing them to so-called please the funders and to compete with other organizations, other festivals that also want to please them, and how much does it come from real necessity or a will, I would say, of the artistic community? So, yeah, I will leave for you now to comment on this, to reflect from your own perspective.
Yeah, maybe I can start replying to your first question or throw. Is it the artist's responsibility? Well, no, I think it's the organizations and the institutions' responsibility. But of course, then there's the personal level on how to reflect or act on the things. So of course, there's also the personal level. But kind of like to that straightforward question, I would say no. It's the organizations and institutions' task primarily to develop the conditions so that it's possible to work in the sustainable ways as an artist. But then, of course, there's the personal level.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree that, of course, I'm speaking from behalf of the organization, the festival. And I also agree that that's kind of what the organization wants to really deal with and be very active in creating examples of how to create more sustainable structures to the field also. But on the other hand, I think we are in a situation in our time that it's the responsibility of every one of us in a way or another to take care of people and environment around us. And that's something that I think it's a festival is a small event inside of a bigger society where things happen, and you cannot just kind of keep it as a bubble which would not be in relationship to everything else that is happening around you. And there I think that it's a nice opportunity also to test things out and to also kind of show that taking responsibility or creating action is maybe, there are so many different ways of doing it that it's not something that is taken away from artistic quality or artistic thinking or anything like that, but it's another dimension that can be also very inspiring, as I feel it is for the festival, actually inspiring. And this is an answer to your second question, that I love the moment where the funder asks what is the environmental responsibility of the festival, but I never think about it as only the answer to them, but also to kind of that I wish that this could be like more discussed and not just like a part that has to be there.
Box ticked
in
the application.
Anni said, you said in the beginning that you spoke about the responsible of, that this is an individual responsibility. There is individual responsibility, and then there is the organizational responsibility, and some kind of a dilemma that I feel that we've been dealing with in Out of Puppets, and it's probably not unique, is that we are an artist-run organization, or artist-led, artist-based, working as a network. And so in this case, the question of responsibility of the organization and versus responsibility of individual is kind of vague, or I don't know if vague is the right term, but it is submerged into each other. And I think it manifested itself, this dilemma, through discussions of, on one hand, artist, freelancer artist, socioeconomical, not making the top in society, normally wants to secure their profession and living, having more gigs, also making more networking, like Maio mentioned earlier, like the need to also meet people from abroad, and Out of Puppets trying to answer to this question or to this need of the artist, but this is in contradiction to, you know, this having more gigs, having more. Well, we need to in some way make a downshift on structural or organizational level. And this has been for us a very vivid discussion. How have you experienced in your own communities around the festivals similar discussions, debates?
Yes. But I think it's not, it doesn't have to be like a contradictional situation. It needs more planning, yes. But also I go back to kind of what makes sense. That if you create a tour, maybe collaboration there can be also a key to create a more sustainable tour, meaning that maybe there can be more performances in one place, maybe the artist can stay a bit longer, maybe there can be different ways to collaborate with the local community, with the local environment. There can be workshops, other ways of working, not only the one show and then you go to the next one and next one, but really kind of creating a meaningful tour also for the artists, so that they would possibly also, if they are touring in Europe, is it possible to go from one place to another by land and not flying everywhere, and these kinds of questions also in Finland when they come here. What else is happening? Can we expand the invitation into other possible gigs, or on the other hand something else that would maybe give possibilities to professional growth or whatever. Like there are a lot of things you can maybe produce or plan via collaboration if you create enough time for it. That's something that we are not used to in this industry, that there would be time. But as far as I've talked with artists also, they are not against it, that they would make a more sustainable tour, for instance. So I think it could be also an inspiring opening to really kind of start thinking the touring possibilities also when you start creating the new work, and you would have all the collaborators and touring partners in those discussions early onwards.
I totally agree with Hanna, and also what I also believe that kind of in the end having kind of rethinking these sustainabilities, it in the end it really benefits everyone, kind of like in the end. So I think it's I think it's really important to take like what you mentioned, that it's about shifting kind of the thinking and not going forward with the demand for more, or kind of like speeding up the pace and kind of like resisting that also a bit.
In practice, when you were doing the curational work or the planning work, did you take into use some kind of certain standards that I don't know we will not? You mentioned something about the amount of travel, that we will have maximum this number of travels per year, and or did you go case specific with every project and try to adapt it?
I would say, at least in my perspective, case specific,
Yeah.
and kind of like following the idea that you mentioned, that what makes sense also in that sense. So it doesn't necessarily mean that no one would fly ever in the productions, but thinking how it's more sustainable in the terms and resources, kind of like what makes sense around these kind of parametrics also.
Yeah, same here.
It sounds reasonable, though I kind of try to imagine how it is, how it works in practice, and I think that maybe some artists are, you know, looking at saying, hey, this group got this and that, why don't we get the same? And the need, maybe it's about the need to communicate to the community about this.
Of course, yeah, and also let go of the kind of the competitive
Yes.
thinking. Of course, it's kind of the fact of getting kind of making a living with your work, but then of course then kind of like shift in the thinking also on that perspective that it's not kind of like
it's a big it's a big question. I think this competition because that's the instinctive reaction. Also, of course, when you hear about cut, you think that okay, more with less, and
maybe that's kind of where the notion of care comes in, that it's kind of that's one tool to look at the community and also the colleagues and the other institutions, and how to look at the collaboration, that it's for the benefit of all in the end.
There will be are there people going now to
if you are going to see Simple Machines, I think it's a good time to
it's time, and then so we wait just a few seconds, and then we will take some questions.
Enjoy the work.
Yes, you.
I think that traditionally we have had a very good sustainability in puppetry field, because we are touring a lot and many of our shows are already put together that way that they are likely to get to the road and likely to storage, because that's one thing also, that how long you can have some show in your repertoire. And also they are suited for a small group of people, so that we can perform them with small teams and like that. So I salute us for that. I think it's really good. And also for what I think that Hour of Puppets has this taking the care of all of us, and somehow to build the road to the next one, to go to the same places for the gigs, and have the next gig for yourself or some other people while you are touring and while you are making these connections with people and the organizations. And I think that's all is really important. I hope that we can keep on doing this work. And also about this, what Ishmael talked about this, that we are artist-based organization out of puppets. A lot of us are puppeteers. I think that it helps us to work with our values, and we have the shorter road to make the changes and talk with each other and try to get even better with all these things. So I think it's our vahvuus, strength also there. Yes, thank you. And thank you for all this.
She's running to the...
I brought the mic. I could also salute us at this point, because also, of course, this is all very in detail what we are doing already and what we should do better, but actually we are not the bad guys in the world. So I also feel like sometimes we need to say it aloud that there are much bigger industries that are ruining the world than arts. And it's really good that we are thinking it a lot. We are thinking it maybe even more than some other industries. But I really kind of, it doesn't make us better if we just feel like really bad conscious about our own work, but it would be more opening if we try to find new ways to also follow the change, and maybe it's motivational also to kind of think about like further the ways of working. And there I think the artist perspective also is super relevant, that is it sustainable for a family life to tour all the time and to be just short time there and then another one, or is it like, what do you also need for yourself to be in balance with your surroundings, your the environment, the relationships around you?
There is I think when curating art event or festival, and there's always the dilemma of how do you measure the value, the impact of the art that you will curate, and every time we plan a festival, there's this question of do we have to cut off, for example, performances that are like one-on-one, and that we know that they will reach the total amount of audience will be like, I don't know, 10, 15, something like this, and try to go to only to much bigger, higher levels of audience, but that doesn't mean necessarily higher impact overall. And how do we like? Personally, I believe in I can like throw an axiom of that 400 people go to the city theater musical and it doesn't change their life. It stabilizes their life and like kind of mostly prevents the changes, while 10 people can go to see one-on-one show that will change their life and through them maybe the world more, maybe. But how to give, how to weigh this thing while curating, because it's very obvious that if a person is traveling all the way, for example, traveling all the way to Finland for really meeting 10 people in the public, how do you measure like impact?
Well, of course, it's about balance, and again with this, I think these situations can exist in a parallel, kind of like that maybe not all of the works are for one person. Some works can kind of attract a different audience also in the means of quantity of audiences, but I think it comes to the kind of totality, and again kind of case by case, and this is also something that I mentioned, that we are looking at each work and its specific audience, and kind of like looking at each production or work as it is, and then building the audience work and the kind of community around that. So yeah, it's about, I don't know, there's no kind of simple answer to that question, but yeah, and also we are also lucky that our funders kind of understand the conditions that we are working on with kind of the field of performance art, and that it's possible to have kind of impactful work, not just kind of measuring it with the audience numbers, or at least they are kind of there's a good communication and dialogue within that what it means to have these different scales inside.
Do you feel that you need to constantly educate the decision makers?
That too, yeah, but I think it's a result of a longer dialogue. Yeah, like you mentioned really well about the kind of sustainable approaches that you had applied funding for certain kinds of projects, but then it's kind of slowly getting. That's I think is
part of the education.
Part of the education, exactly.
So we don't end up having funders that only count heads in the audience.
Yeah, because it's not relevant in all the cases.
Yes. We had. Did you have Maju? Yes.
Is the mic on?
It's kind of
okay. Yes, of course. So I started to think the quote that Hanna presented about if we take away the production from the festivals, what is left are the relationships. And I started to think if you have as festivals, as organizations, or if we have here some kind of practices or means for making these relationships more profound. Because I have started to think that these connections that, for example, me personally, I make, they are the thing that makes it meaningful for me. And also, like professionally, I have found, like, of course, there are like many different paths and variations, but usually it might be that when there's like a meaningful connection, then things start to happen. Like gigs appear, or co-work appears, projects, or even change in a larger scale, like yes. So have you got this kind of like, or does somebody have these practices of making these connections more profound? Because it can be a little bit like, for me, honestly, in festivals, it can be a little bit like, there's this a little bit like opportunistic vibe. People are kind of like mingling, and it can be like, but there's this certain sense of superficiality, that people want something from each other, and in the heart usually people are amazing. So, and when people get to this profound level, then like the essential stuff starts to happen. So does somebody have some thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a difficult question.
It's yes.
I was thinking this taking care of somehow, and spending time, and also this that you don't like that. It's not based on that you want something. Of course, it's in a way in the air in that kind of situations, but in a way, what? Yeah, but somehow I have that kind of experience, and that then it starts to be kind of like meeting same people in for example, in different festivals. So it's, well, there's action to go to the festival, also other people's festival, and they go to see performances and then go to speak, and but also somehow to that it's not based on that you, but this kind of space. Yeah. Yeah.
Sauna.
Yeah.
Yes. But taking care is, I think it was a really nice mikä nosto, what you made, Anni.
I think also the overall festival dramaturgy that we create, that we really think about, like, how do people go from one show to another, or is there time in between for discussions, or is there food when they have a lot of shows and then you need to eat, or is there like sauna when they are cold, or these kinds of things that you try to think about also, that the festival actually happens in toilet queues or in different places around the actual events, and I think that's something that we should take care of as well, that we don't just kind of take care of the productions of the performances, but forget about the audience who's actually then creating their own routes there.
Yes, definitely. It's bigger than the sum of all its parts. When it's and I think in this this kind of caretaking, the community around the festival is super important, because you can have the personnel who is in charge of from ticket selling to making food and whatever technical and this and performers and all this. But then if you don't have just community artists that come and just like be there, like watch and participate in all this and discuss and stand in the line for the toilet and this. So something is missing. This, and normally this is from my experience. Also, while traveling and touring, the festivals that have left an impact on me were this kind of where I felt that okay, there is more than just this show and this show, but there is some kind of community around, and something is alive.
I think the community is also it has a lot to do with ownership, how people participating. If they experience ownership. Like, because I have been now working a lot with volunteers, for example, and I can sense that they are also owning the festival, and that's like somehow where the magic starts to happen, when people like are owning the work that when they are like contributing.
Yeah, I totally agree that it has a lot to do with the ownership and also agency and kind of how they engage and relate to the things happening, the works, but then everything in between also.
Yeah, this is. I have been thinking about this for the whole conversation, so there has been very interesting ideas since. But I think, because I'm a bit slow, I want to just say the basic thing that I think these questions of sustainability and care, and they are also like basic questions of art itself. So it's not any pressure coming outside, but it's like mostly I think it's artists who are kind of sensing changes, differences. The pandemic was a very big experience for everyone, but also before there's a big wave going on, like creating art in a different way, like rethinking what is art, what is theater, for example, like where it happens, for example, and who is the actor and who is the spectator, for example, or how multi-sensory thinking changes and the experiencing through the whole body, and so these kind of things. And also the question of care is I think it's the basic question of art at the moment. I just wanted to say this, so it's not like outside pressure coming and we need to answer, but like this is the way, a good example how artists are also creating a big conversation in our society. So it's like this thinking is, I think it's very profound, and it's very like makes changes, I believe. So
yeah, I think I would like to kind of add on this that my experience as an artist is this, that from the outside comes kind of pressures, but in different directions. There is the pressure from outside that we artists, we should go back like to the Middle Ages model. We should just play in the street this or get us a mecenate, and this like not like without to dismantle all these structures of in society of supporting the art, and we should like deal with it on one hand, and then on another hand, when the system is like co-adapting these new values of sustainability into its own neoliberal I don't know, goals or ways of doing and using it as that we just have to have it, and you just have to tick this and this. And as an artist, I feel that we are kind of stuck in between, because sure, every artist is reacting to the world and in its own way and by its own means, but I find it very irritating that you have to respond, of course, to these forces that want to send us back to the Middle Ages, but also, in a way, to the forces that are trying to make co-adaptation of these values, and they come from above. It's not like answer. It's just Kello Kalle said that.
Yeah, maybe maybe we can go to the theater lobby and continue the discussion there. We have some snacks and some coffee, and I think if you don't have anything to wrap up, I will wrap it up.
I will just say that I was throwing this one kind of a question.
Yeah.
It was quite provoking. It seemed to have been enough to actually take over the whole discussion. But on the other hand, it was probably a need to discuss it, and I think it comes really from this theme. On my behalf, thank you, and thank you for participating also and commenting, asking. Yes?
Yeah, thank you, Anni. Thank you, Hanna. Thank you, Ishmael.
Okay, thank you. And if you want to be unquoted for the protocol, so speak freely in the lobby. Yes,
Thank you so much.